I had a fascinating experience today while searching online. What was I searching for? I was searching for the karmic cycle, i.e., the five different souls that live on this planet. What are the five different souls? They are the infant soul, the baby soul, the childlike soul, the mature soul, and the old soul. Which soul is Jessica Madden? I have no idea. I don't know. I've never actually gone to test it. So I don't know. But let's start with the infant soul. What is the infant soul like? The infant soul is a person who has to live in the confines of a community. It's for their inner security. They feel secure whilst living in a very close community. What is that close community like? That close community is unforgiving and totally immoral towards anybody who's not exactly like them. Anybody who's not part of their group is seen and perceived as immoral, sinful, and bad. And so, therefore, they will only be kind and moral towards those who are in their group. These people feel secure like that. It's very much like a cult for all intents and purposes. That is what the infant soul is like. They like living in a cult. They like living in that kind of setting. Then there is the childlike soul. The child soul is more advanced, but they're very happy to live on a different level of conditioning, not as bad as the infant-like soul, but a different type of conditioning, which is not that much more inclusive, I would say. Then there is the childlike soul, which is the majority of us on this planet. And they include politicians and various different types of characters. Then there is the mature soul and the old soul. People who have advanced, they've lived through different lives, and they have now seen life from a much more broader perspective and a lot more maturity. Now, what is a person who is living through this life with an old soul? What are they like if they haven't ascended spiritually? What are they like when they face and see people who have an infant-like soul? They're likely to get very upset. And if they've been violated by an infant-like soul, they're likely to find it very difficult and very hard to get their heads around it. And they ask questions like, how am I supposed to forgive them? Why do they behave so immorally? In such an abhorrent manner? Why? Why can't they see that they do things so immorally? Why can't they see that they do things and behave in an awful, abhorrent manner? Why is that? They can't get their heads around it because they haven't matured on a spiritual level yet. As they mature on a spiritual level, they have a beautiful insight. And they're going to mature on a spiritual level because they are old souls. And they have a high level of morality. And they're good souls. They're amazing souls. Those who are more infant-like, they're immoral. They'll have no qualms about violating another human being who's not part of their strict community, who's not part of their very confined way of living. And they're also very good at deceit. Those who are infant-like souls, they need to preserve their close communities. So they will be very good at deceit. They will know how to get the way around, and they will know how to play around with the law, and they will not be caught out by the law because they need to survive. So that's how they do it. Politicians are probably on the lower rung of the ladder of the childlike soul. They trespass people's boundaries from time to time. They ignore the pain of certain individuals, certain people in society, and that's how they get by. Now, you must be wondering, Jessica, doesn't this kind of contradict a lot of what you say? Like, for instance, when it comes to believing that, people who were neglected in the past, and that's why they behave in an abhorrent manner, is just a means of neglect, and therefore you need to pray for them, and hopefully they'll get past that neglect and the denial of that neglect. And for that I say, true, that is true, but it's a lot to expect, and there's a lot to hope for from an infant-like soul to actually change. You can't really expect an infant soul to change. They don't have that kind of maturity. They're immoral. And they live within the confines of their infant-like community because that's their security. And anybody outside of their infant-like group is seen and perceived as a danger. Is seen and perceived as somebody to weary of, to reject as well, if necessary. That's what they're like. Now, you must be wondering as well, why does God do this kind of thing? Why does God send a infant-like soul to meet up with a senior soul, with an old soul? Because God wants you to ascend. God wants you to actually move along your spiritual path, to go higher and higher. Those who give you a challenge, they're here to do that. Like if you've ever watched a football game or a soccer game or a basketball game, you'll see two opposing teams, right? The opposing team is there in order to get the opposing team to garner points and to become better and better and better. You only become better and better by those who challenge you. You can't grow, you can't ascend if you don't have people challenging you. And that's why God does that. God puts an infant-like soul with a old soul. The infant-like soul challenges the old soul, makes life at times unbearable to them. I would probably say it's most likely to be the case of the narcissist type of behavior, which is acting up in the infant-like soul, versus the old soul, who probably has very, very strong traits of an empath, is empathic, who's kind, who's gracious, and will bend over their backwards to somebody else. And that's what they're facing challenges. So God put these two individuals together in order to help them ascend, grow, and to prosper. So the old soul is likely to prosper and to grow and mature from that, and hopefully leave that kind of relationship, because I would never advise anybody to stay within the confines of an abusive relationship. So I would advise the old soul to leave that relationship, but understand why God did that. God did that in order to help you ascend, in order to help you find your inner spark and ascend spiritually. Now, what happens to the infant-like soul? Do they gain from that kind of relationship? Not really, no. They're not here. They're probably not going to gain much in this particular life because they're an infant. They came here as infants and they'll probably die an infant. An infant-like soul doesn't really change. Doesn't change very much in this particular lifetime. In a few lifetimes, they probably will. They'll get to the level of being an old soul. Every old soul was once an infant, right? Every old person was once an infant. That's how you could understand it as well. So that's the way the 5 different souls work. That's the dynamic, and that's why God puts these 2 different types of characters together, and that's why it's beautiful and it's so refreshing when you take this approach on board. You're more forgiving as a result. You have no problem forgiving the infant-like soul. They're just an infant. You can't expect much of an infant. Infants don't change very much in the stage of infancy, and because the infant soul doesn't actually leave that level of infancy. Again, the narcissistic The person with the narcissistic tendencies is likely to be the infant-like soul. They're likely to live in the confines of a very rigid community, etc., etc., etc. So that's what's happening. That's the dynamic. That's what I discovered while searching online for the 5 different types of souls. The karmic ascension, the karmic process. That's my video today. Did you enjoy this video? Smash the like button. Feel free to press the subscribe button if you haven't already, and the little bell notification next to it so that you too could see my videos as soon as they come out. Drop a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about this amazing video. On my channel here on YouTube, I share amazing insights, wisdom, and brilliance. Come along with me on this amazing, amazing YouTube journey. I will not disappoint you. I look forward to seeing you in another video. Have a great evening, if that's the time zone you're in right now. Have a great evening. Have a great day tomorrow. I love you so much. And remember, you are amazing and you are the light.